Grade 8th, ICSE Board, English subject, chapter reading. The Adventures of the Blue Carbuncle. The following extract is adapted from a Sherlock Holmes mystery by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The detective's famous approach that uses logic and deduction comes into play when he tries to solve the crime. I called on my friend Sherlock Holmes on the second morning after Christmas. He was sitting on the sofa in a brown dressing gown, holding a pipe with a pile of crumpled morning papers at hand. Beside the couch was a wooden chair. On the back of the chair hung a dirty, worn, hard felt hat. A lens and forceps lay upon the seat of the chair. Obviously, Holmes had hung the hat over the chair in order to examine it. "Perhaps I interrupt you," I said. "Not at all. I'm glad to have a friend with whom I can discuss my results," said Sherlock. "The matter is an ordinary one," he continued, "but there are some points of interest in it." I seated myself in his armchair and warmed my hands before his crackling fire. "Although it looks very ordinary, a deadly story or crime must be linked to it," I guessed. No crime," laughed Sherlock Holmes. "Let me tell you how the hat came here. It was 4 o'clock on Christmas morning, and Peterson, the commissioner, was walking home. A tallish man carrying a fat goose was walking ahead of him on the road. As he reached the end of the street, a little knot of rough men attacked the man with the goose. One of the hoodlums knocked off the tall man's hat as he aimed a blow at him. The tall man raised his stick to defend himself and, swinging it over his head, smashed the shop window behind him. Peterson rushed forward to protect the victim, but the man, frightened by Peterson's uniform, took to his heels. The roughs also ran away as Peterson approached. So Peterson was left with the fat goose and the battered hat that the tall man left behind. Peterson wanted to give the goose back to the owner, but faced quite a problem. Mrs. Henry Baker was printed on a small card that was tied to the goose's left leg. Also, the hat does have the initials HB that have been inscribed on its lining. However, there are thousands of bakers in this city, and many hundreds of those are Henry Bakers. Peterson brought both hat and goose round to me on Christmas morning, as he knows such problems interest me. The goose we kept until this morning, when it seemed to be going bad. Peterson will have it cooked today. I thought that I'd keep the hat with me. Did you advertise in the papers so that the owner can claim the hat? No. Then how will you know who the owner is? We know what we can deduce from the hat. But you are joking. I don't see what you can deduce from this battered hat. Here is my lens. You know my methods. What can you gather about the man who owns this hat?" I took the tattered object in my hands and turned it over rather ruefully. It was a very ordinary black hat of the usual round shape, hard and much the worse for wear. The lining had been of red silk, but was a good deal discolored. There was no maker's name, but, as Holmes had remarked, the initials HP was scrawled upon one side. It was pierced in the brim for a hat securer, but the elastic was missing. For the rest, it was cracked, exceedingly dusty, and spotted in several places, although there seemed to have been some attempt to hide the discolored patches by smearing them with ink. "I can see nothing. Tell me what you have deduced from this hat." Holmes looked thoughtfully at the hat and said, "The man leads a sedentary life and is quite clever. He is middle-aged and is not in good physical condition. His hair is grey and he puts lime cream in it. He was rich but is now no longer so." Holmes had a few other such details about the man. I was astounded. I must be very stupid, Holmes, for I am quite unable to follow you. For example, how did you deduce that he is clever from his hat? Well, the hat is very large, and so he must have some brains. How do you know he has grey hair and uses lime cream? There is some fine grey hair on the lining of the hat. Therefore, his hair must be grey. There is a fine whiff of lime from the hat, and so he must use lime cream. Holmes had a logical explanation for each of his deductions. While Sherlock Holmes and I were talking, Peterson rushed into the room. He showed us a beautiful blue diamond that his wife had found in the goose. Sherlock Holmes immediately recognized it as the beautiful gem that had recently been in the news. Holmes recalled reading about the theft. It had been stolen from the Countess of Morcar while she was staying at the Hotel Cosmopolitan. A plumber who had come in to set something right in the room had been accused of the theft. Ryder, an attendant at the hotel, had given evidence that he had shown the plumber in shortly before the stone went missing. The Countess was very fond of the gem and was offering £1,000 as a reward for its recovery. You see, Watson, our little deductions have suddenly assumed a much more important and less innocent aspect, said Holmes thoughtfully. The question for us to solve now is the sequence of events leading from a riffled jewel case at one end to the crop of a goose in Tottenham Court Road at the other. The first step Holmes took was to place the following advertisement in the papers. Found at the corner of Gooch Street, a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221B Baker Street. This brought Baker to Holmes, and after a little conversation, it became quite clear to us that he was innocent. So Holmes gave him a fine goose to replace the one he lost, and sent him off very happy and contented. The next step was to trace the seller of the goose. Some questioning of Mr. Baker led us to the seller, Mr. Breckenridge. A little conversation with him, and we found Mr. Baker's goose for Christmas had come from a lady called Mrs. Oakshott from Brixton Road. As Holmes and I were making plans to contact Mrs. Oakshott, we heard a hubbub near Mr. Breckenridge. The goose seller was shaking his fist at a little rat-faced man who was weening that the goose was his. "Ha! This may save us a visit to Brixton Road," whispered Holmes, and went after the man. The man, it turned out, was Ryder, the hotel attendant. He was Mrs. Oakshott's brother. She bred geese for the table for her living and had promised Ryder a fine goose for Christmas. Ryder, who had given evidence against the plumber, was the one who had stolen the gem. He went to see his sister with the gem in his pocket. He put it into the mouth of the goose he thought that his sister had reserved for him to avoid being caught red-handed. However, he got the wrong goose, and the goose that had the gem got sold to Mr. Baker through Mr. Breckenridge. In despair, Ryder tried to recover the goose from Mr. Baker by having him waylaid by hoodlums. But as it happened, neither did Ryder get the goose, nor did he recover the gem, because Mr. Peterson came by and frightened the roughs away and brought the goose to Holmes.